You're listening to the Sustainable Angler, and my daddy's the host.
All right, well, special thanks to my sweetheart for the introduction, and welcome to the Sustainable Angler, the podcast where we discuss the intersection of fishing, conservation, and sustainability. I'm your host, Rick Crawford. Well, I couldn't be more excited to share this conversation with artist Paul Puckett and filmmaker Hilton to talk about their new film, Time Will Tell, which is about Paul's impact on the fly fishing, outdoor, and creative worlds, and is currently premiering across the country with the International Fly Fishing Film Festival. We dive into the creative process of Paul's art and Hilton's filmmaking, talk a little fishing, and also discuss the importance of conservation and the world we are leaving behind for future generations. Be sure to check out Time Will Tell whenever IF4 comes through your town, and special thanks to Hilton and Paul for their time and sharing their stories. I hope you enjoy. To listen to previous episodes of The Sustainable Angler, visit emergerstrategies.com/podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, an absolutely free way to show your support is by leaving it a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. The Sustainable Angler is available anywhere you listen to podcasts and is also airing Saturdays at 2 p.m. on Charleston's first and only community-supported radio station, OHM Radio, 96.3 FM. This episode of the Sustainable Angler podcast is brought to you by Emerger Strategies and A New Earth Project, the sustainability initiative of Atlantic Packaging.
We set out with a New Earth Project to really start a movement.
It's a global coalition of people who are deeply concerned and want to accelerate the transition away from problematic packaging to more sustainable solutions.
Our entire value proposition was built on helping companies package things better. We were doing sustainability before sustainability was cool. We just called it packaging optimization. And packaging optimization really is about using less. And we built our whole business on that. You know, people send us their products, their goods, and we help them design packaging systems and solutions for the least possible cost, utilizing the least amount of material. Use less is always the right answer.
And that's what I see with companies like a New Earth Project is it's like, we're just trying to create solutions for big companies and small, that makes it easier for them, cheaper for them, whatever it is, and then has less impact. Not just trying to tell people you should have less impact and making the choice forced on them. Like, make it better for everybody, and it'll make it better for the whole world.
We see the problem, and we are with you.
Fishing taught me that everything in nature is interconnected. Just as a fiddler crab, a tailing redfish, and a marsh ecosystem are connected, so are our businesses and our planet. And we have a vision of businesses and the environment thriving together. Imagine a company that not only champions the sport of fishing, but also leads on climate action and conservation efforts. Products and packaging that are friendly to marine life and that degrade harmlessly back into the earth. It's not a dream, it's a strategy, and that's what we do at Emerger Strategies. We guide businesses on their sustainability journey by helping them measure and improve the sustainability performance of their operations, products, and packaging, all while boosting profits. Because when nature thrives, we all thrive. Together, we can make a difference for generations to come. Visit our website at emergerstrategies.com. Let's protect what we love together. All right, special edition of the Sustainable Angler podcast today. I've got Hilton Graham and Paul Puckett. We're at Paul Puckett's art studio. Good morning.
Morning.
How we doing?
Thanks for having us on here.
Doing good. Feeling good. Looking good. You guys are looking great this morning.
I think everyone here is looking pretty good.
Mortimer.
Get in that mic now. Let's get in that mic.
Am I close enough now?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, let's get things kicked off with a little introduction. I could probably do Paul's introduction because I've known him for years at this point, but I would probably still fumble through that. So we're going to get things kicked off with an introduction. Hilton Graham, Love Affair Creative. What is your background? Let's get into it.
Well, thanks again, like I said, for having us on here. So we're a film production company, brand architecture. We're out of Richmond, Virginia. Been doing it. I guess we founded Love Affair probably like 2015. Okay. I cut my teeth in the political world. I was a political operative for a long time, and on the communication side, not the policy side. I'm not that bright. And got out of it. I had a nasty bout with cancer in 2009. Wow. Had to move down to Houston, Texas. Had a stem cell transplant and didn't have a good outlook, but nevertheless, here I am.
Wow.
So, it was a pretty good moment to sort of pivot everything in my life, and I took a step back from politics, and I've always been passionate about the outdoors. I grew up hunting and fishing. My dad took me on my first hunt when I was like 5. We went on a dove hunt, and I just followed him around, and loved it and watched the dogs and was just passionate about it. Been fly fishing for 35 years, and I was like, I want to start telling stories about this. And I love the outdoors, and I worked for an arm of a big ad agency in Richmond, sort of in an incubator that they had, which was really cool and allowed for it was a great creative space. Moved to Charlottesville with my wife, Dawn, for a couple years and worked for an outdoor creative agency there. And just kind of missed being back in Richmond. I've got a little girl who's 16 years old now, and moved back to Richmond, and just sort of like by accident, sort of started this company. I don't know exactly like
what was your first project? Do you remember what the first thing that kind of got you rolling?
I don't know. I know we did early on. We did a lot of work for the Boy Scouts, and we did some work for Ducks Unlimited.
Okay.
We did some work for Benedictine High School, which is my alma mater back in Richmond. It's all boys.
All right. I went to Benedictine Military School in Savannah, Georgia.
It's the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're the brother. That's the brother school to it. We were founded off of that school.
No way.
Troublemakers.
1911. Yeah.
How about that?
We're the brother school to that.
That's pretty wild.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So anyway, just sort of developed. We were doing a lot of client work early on, and I like the client work. It's fun. Pays well. Sometimes there are boundaries on creative and storytelling and things like that. And so while we still do client work, we really have shifted in the last couple of years into doing short films, documentary work. We're working on TV series and feature-length films now for the most part.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we love it. We've got a good team. I've got a nice young woman who came on board last year, named Viv, she kind of keeps all the trains running. She's like a catch-all. She started as my assistant, and within like a month, she was producing stuff. So she just learned how to do this. It's just natural, and so
that kind of reinvigorates your fire too a little bit. Like to see someone at that age, kind of you 20 years ago. Yeah, it kind of restarts that.
100%.
Yeah,
and she's great. Viv's funny. So my wife Dawn and Viv's mom are like best friends.
Oh wow!
So we've known Viv since she was like 7, and she's just delightful. And so it's nice. You're right. Like to see her grow and learn and be proud of her work is cool because she's like a daughter to me.
Yep.
So when you see her excited, it makes you proud. Not of me, but like of her, right?
Right.
And so it's fun to see, and you can see. And Paul's seen it when we were working on Paul's film, which we'll get to in a little bit. Was you can see when she's done something new and cool, like she gets this big smile about it. It's evident with Viv. Like you see it, like when she's done something cool, she's big electric smile. And it's nice to see, but it breathes good energy, to your point, you know, like through the company, right? And on set and when we're talking with clients and stuff like that. But so we have a lot of fun, and we love the outdoor space. It's not all that. We like the whiskey world too, and really kind of any good story. I think one of the things that's unique about Love Affair, aside from the visuals, we have sort of a unique visual style, but I like the idea of telling a little bit more of a passionate story, like something that's sort of soulful. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Which I got that vibe completely from Paul's film, but yeah.
Well, thanks. But I think we hate the word, it's such a buzzword now, but like we try and be pretty intentional.
Yeah.
Like I want people to feel something. It's just kind of like, well, like a love affair, right?
Right.
Which actually, I'll tell you the story is kind of funny about how it got named. So when we had come back from Charlottesville, back in Richmond, and a couple clients had come with me, and we were growing kind of quickly, like by accident, right? And but it was fun. Well, I had the hardest time coming up with a name. It was killing me. I mean, absolutely killing me. And I went like 5 or 6 months. It was just called Hilton Graham Inc. I mean,
which makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But like not award-winning creative either.
Right.
And
could we have gotten a little bit more creative than your name?
Yeah. Like, can I put S Corp at the back of that? But anyway, it was frustrating the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I remember this so great. It was a Monday mid-morning, and I was out on errands doing something, and I passed Dawn. She was driving, like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like, I don't feel like I see my wife like in the wild very often.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, like I pass my wife in the car like twice a year.
Yeah.
It's just so like when you see her, like, hey, it's like so happy. Well, I saw her, waved, she called, and she's like, hey, do you want to get an early bite of lunch? And I was like, sure. So we tucked into this little Thai restaurant, and we sat down, and I was just grumpy, like not like regular Monday morning grumpy, like a special type of grumpy. And she was like, what is the matter with you? And I was like, if I can't come up with a name for this goddamn company soon, I'm folding it up.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go work at a bank. I was like, it's driving me insane. And Dawn, like, if you could see Dawn, like, she's stunning. If you could have seen it, she leans forward, she goes, what about Love Affair? And I was just blown away. I sat back in my seat. There it is.
That's the one.
Oh my God, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It just it immediately spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so we had this great conversation about it and what it means. And we didn't want it to be as obvious as like, well, have a love affair with your brand, right?
Right.
But the coolest part about it is that was a Monday. Well, that Wednesday, we were hopping in the car to go down to the Hope and Glory Inn in Irvington, and I was proposing.
Oh, no way.
So like 48 hours before I proposed to the woman of my dreams, she named my company Love Affair.
That's good.
That's so great. Like it totally, I think that was one of the reasons it hit so hard is that like, here's this woman who's just solved this amazing problem that I've had with an amazing solution. And it couldn't be more perfectly tied to what is happening to her in 48 hours.
That's awesome.
Right.
So it was.
It all made sense.
It does. It all makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I love that. We're gonna get way more into the films in a second, but I also want to let Paul introduce himself. He's been a guest on the podcast when it was in the early goings of the Sustainable
It was
Angler.
just audio then. You couldn't see my pretty face.
Well, it was just, just years of technological advancement have brought us right here, right now.
I do have a face for radio, so this video thing is new to me.
Yeah, well, so just for context, Hilton and Paul have just released a new film, Only Time Will Tell, that's out, and the IF4 touring the country right now. So more on that in a minute. But, Paul, let's get your background just in case someone listening to this hasn't heard of you. Who is Paul Puckett?
I mean, all the 100,000 people that listen to your podcast have probably already listened to my segment. But, yeah, for the 7 people that haven't.
Yeah.
My background, I've been here in Charleston for about 12 years. I'm starting to kind of get to that point where I kind of forget how many years I've been here, which means I guess I ain't leaving. I ain't leaving anytime soon. But originally from Dallas, Texas, grew up fishing my whole life, and I was just one of those kids that never stopped drawing and doodling and using colors and painting things. And about the time I got to middle school, all my art projects kind of became fishing subject matter. And I remember my teacher trying to kind of direct me, you can't just paint fish, so I had to kind of fight that in middle school. In high school, my teacher was awesome. She would let me do every project. It was either music or fish. I remember doing paintings of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix and fish. So it kind of hadn't changed. So it's still been that route for me. I'm either doing some sort of musician or some sort of fish subject matter. I lived in Jackson, Wyoming from 2000 to 2004. It was like 4 of the best years of my life after I somehow got out of college. Yep. And I actually did get a degree. I didn't just get out of college. I somehow got a degree. And when I told my dad I was moving to Wyoming, because I was working for West Bank Anglers in Dallas that was affiliated with the West Bank in Jackson, so it was kind of a natural, easy. I told him a year before I wanted to work in the shop. So my dad just couldn't, you've been 6.5 years of finally getting out of school. You're going to be a trout bum. I'm
a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Exactly. Yeah,
they're called doctors.
Yeah. And what's funny is 4 years later, after my dad came to see me all the time in Jackson, I told him I'm leaving Jackson to go to Atlanta. He's like, you're leaving this place. You're leaving this place. So, he kind of flip-flopped because he loved coming to visit me.
Of course.
He loved it. He'd come out there and play with our band and play music and get to meet all my friends and fish with me. And so Jackson has a huge special place in my heart, as it does you guys. I know we kind of have that commonality. And so moved to Atlanta. Spent 8 years in Atlanta. But when I was in Atlanta, I was always coming here to Charleston.
Yeah.
Whether it was an art show or fishing, getting to know people. I have a lot of friends here that I actually were friends with in Jackson that live here. So, and then finally, after those Atlanta years, I was like, I can't be wishing I was in Charleston anymore. I just got to move. So I've been here. And also had the clothing brand idea, and you can't really start a saltwater clothing brand in Atlanta. It kind of has a redfish tail.
It's tough.
So it was a perfect combination of everything. Will Abbott and I are good buddies, and he was in Beaufort. He used to be in Atlanta, so it was just maybe him leaving Atlanta to go to Beaufort kind of was what helped me, that magnetic draw of me coming to the coast too. So, but yeah, I love it here. It has everything I need here in Charleston. Well,
I agree. Love the Low Country. Unique place in a number of ways. But I'm curious about this film, and how Hilton. How did y'all or Paul, either one? How did y'all first to connect, and what really inspired the idea to make a film about Paul's art?
Well, we met a couple years ago out in Jackson.
Okay.
We were both fishing the one fly tournaments.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I'm good buddies with the guy who puts the thing on, John Holland. And I don't remember exactly. Like, I remember walking up. I remember Holland being like, "Hey, these are going to be the people out here."
Yeah, we were on the chairman's, but we were on the same team.
We were on the same team.
Yep.
And he told me that Paul was going to be out there. And I was like, "Guy's a damn legend, seriously?"
Right.
And I remember coming up to, like, Paul was sitting there drawing. He was sketching or something at the table. I can't remember what he was doing.
Yeah, we were doing like a live draw thing.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly.
I think I had my sketchbooks out.
Yeah. It was cool. And I just sort of came up, and I do remember, like, I was like, can I interrupt him? Like, is he going to be like, dude, I'm working, get away from me.
What do you think's going on here?
Yeah. I was like, sorry, there are 450 people here. I thought maybe it'd be okay to say hi. But I did. I came up and, like, as as anyone has ever met Paul Puckett.
Right.
He's like, we were brothers within 40 seconds. You know, he's like welcoming and happy and smiling and da-da-da-da. And I don't know, we just sort of like became buds.
Well, it's funny, like, since you're on this part of the story, I'll kind of interject my version of it, which is not any much unsimilar than that. But it's funny because I walked away from that conversation, and if you know Hilton, he's very, just very positive, a lot of positive energy going on. And I walked away from that like, do I know him? I feel like I've known him for like 10 years. Am I missing something here? And I remember even saying to someone else, like someone said, pointed to Hilton, I go, I just met him like an hour ago, but I feel like he knows me, or I should. Anyway, it was
It's probably because I talk a lot.
Well, no, but you're
sat there and talked.
You were just super
40
confident, and like
breath.
it's just like I just felt like I should know him, or like we already know each other. So, and then skip to like the next year, the same situation. I saw you. I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, there's the movie guy that I feel like I know or should know or something. So, it was just a good kind of foundation for the second year, us getting to know each other a lot better.
Yeah, we became buds, and I guess we were following each other on Instagram or something, and like that's sort of how we kept in touch. You know, I mean, I think we had each other's cell phones, and like we would text occasionally. But I don't know. I want to say it was last summer. Yeah. Summer 24.
Because we had 2 hangs before this thing ever happened.
Correct. And I don't know. Did you post something? Or I remember where I was. I remember I was sitting in my leather chair at home one evening, and I sent him a text. Like I responded to a Instagram or something, and I was like, dude, we ought to do a film about you.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted to see what was the story behind that.
I mean, we probably could go through Instagram. Like we probably could find the conversation. And he was like, sounds great.
So Holland, John Holland, the year before at the One Fly kind of gave us this teaser. He's like, I got big plans for next year. Really cool stuff. I'm in the works on it. I can't tell y'all yet what it is. And this is while we're like the last night of One Fly. So like 3 weeks later, Holland either emails us or calls us and is like, hey, we're doing something with the American Museum of Fly Fishing. They're giving the One Fly this award. I forget what the name. Like it's a sort of
Heritage Award. Yeah, it's like one of the biggest awards, arguably, in fishing on the planet. I mean, it's an iconic award. I mean, conservationists and presidents and movie stars and stuff have won this award.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a super prestigious award.
Yeah, and so what came with that is Mike Sudall and I happened to be the 2 artists kind of involved in the One Fly. So naturally, they wanted to get a couple paintings, one from Mike and one from me. So one of the paintings I was going to do that I typically take one and they auction it off. So this time I had to take 2. One would get auctioned off and the other one they'd both get auctioned off as a package. Whoever got it would take one of them home, and then the other one would go up in the museum under that person's name and my name. So that's how that kind of happened. And you got wind of that, I guess, maybe through John or Instagram.
Through John. Yeah.
And that's when you, like 3 weeks out, texted me, or like, we should make a film about this painting going in the museum. And I'm like, well, I'm already halfway through it. Like to me, you're wanting to come here and like film me paint it. Like,
right.
Do a film about you growing up.
Yeah. I'm already halfway there.
Missed a lot of that.
So to me, that's kind of how that happened though.
Okay.
And, which was really cool that you wanted to do that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we did, like, I think we just kind of had this conversation on Instagram, like eventually moved it over to text, and we got on a call one day and just sort of, Paul's an insanely creative guy, and we just had this amazing conversation where we were just kind of like kicking ideas around, and we ended up having 2 or 3 more of them. And I think what we sort of learned was like, Paul's a busy dude, right? And he's like as incredibly positive and successful and fun and all these amazing things that Paul is. Like, the guy's got one little demon and lives on his shoulder, and it's time.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have enough of it, and it has nothing to do with being like irresponsible about it. It's just not enough, And so we sort of told that story about like Paul growing up, what he was just telling us about a few minutes ago is, drawing pictures of fish and glass, and how he grew into it, and how his his body of work is, he would consider, and I'll let him tell it, but he considers his body of work to be like his biggest masterpiece, right? And it's like always growing, and it's And we always talk about well, you tell them about the question that everybody always asks you, right?
Every painting's a stepping stone, and everyone at every show, every time we're somewhere, and I think you even asked me, how long did it take you to do that painting?
I still ask you that.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna ask you by the end of this.
And he was asking me about the one literally behind you, Rick, the one that's in the museum. And I said, well, this is what I tell everyone. It's taken me 49 years, because it has.
Yeah.
I can't get to that painting if I don't do the painting that's 20 years ago that is in the film, the one on the Snake River, which at the time I thought was amazing. And then they all kind of bleed into each other. They all kind of have this same vein that's working with each other, because I can't have one without the other. So I never say a painting's terrible or bad, because at the time it was one of my best and one of my favorites. And so the one behind Hilton here is my latest one, and that's my latest. I can never call it a masterpiece, because
It's pretty damn good.
I don't think you can call
stunning.
someone's paintings a masterpiece until they're long gone. You look back and you say, that's his masterpiece. That's just another stepping stone. So the one after that, what's it going to be? So in the film, they say, what's next? And I was like, time will tell. I don't know. So it's definitely a fun journey to be on. It's exciting because I love that painting, the tarpon one behind you, Hilton. And for me, that thing right now is the one, and so the next one has to be better. That's just kind of the way we go. So
I have a question for you. Probably should have covered this in the film.
Part 2 in theaters.
Yeah, time told us.
Time was told.
Time is telling. So, do you think there is a conscious effort to make your next one better, or do you think that you have naturally learned something? When you're doing the gills on this thing, right? You have to do 400 of them. Do you think naturally your next one's going to be better just because you practiced, or are you like, all right, this is what I have to do, and it's got to be better? Do you understand?
Yeah,
what I'm asking?
that's a great question. I've never thought of that.
Sorry if I just ruined your next painting.
No, I always talk about it real one-dimensionally, like we are now. I don't But when that painting leaves here, I'm going to put a new board up. I don't sit there and think, oh, my God, this one has to be the next best one. That never enters my mind. Yeah. I look at it. I've learned so many things from that painting. Composition, just the skill of figuring out water. How do I make it look like water without overdoing it as water?
And the little blood coming out of the gills.
Subtle, I don't want it. Just little things like that. So, I don't hit the next painting sitting there with this stress reminder of, oh my God, the tarpon one was incredible. This one's got to be better. It's a general way of speaking that I just hope and try. I guess I hope the next painting's better.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's not like you set a goal and a milestone for yourself based on your immediate past work.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Just me looking back on them, you can see the growth from one painting to the next.
Yeah. Cool.
So accidentally.
Well, each one seems to get better and better in its own unique way. I follow your work and everything that comes out, like these ones you did recently with the watercolor in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
There was one in particular that you could see the reef.
Yeah.
And it was from above, and I was like, damn, if that ain't hard to tell if that water is actually a picture or was actually painted, it was painted, which is just wild.
It's funny you say that. When I tell people, I've pointed a lot of people towards Paul's work over the course of the last year, and I easily could tell you that a large majority of them will get on Instagram and look at his stuff, and they'll be like, and they'll zoom in and they'll go, oh my God, that's a painting. Yeah. Oh my God, I thought this was a picture.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny because as an artist, I don't know what the what the equal of that would be in filmmaking, but when I hear that, it kind of makes me cringe.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I want it to take you somewhere. I don't want it to be a photorealism, but I also want it to look painterly. Right, so I'm like, I just well, get up close. It doesn't look like a photo if you get close to it.
Right. No, exactly.
I get it.
I think it's a compliment to your attention to detail.
Total compliment. but it's funny. I'm like, dang it, I don't want it to look like a photorealism. But with all this in mind, while we're on the subject matter, I don't know if you have this as a question, but same thing with filmmaking. Don't you want every film, like you don't sit there and think, oh, this has to be better than Tension, because you love Tension in a way, but gradually your skills and the things you learn along the way are going to make each film better.
Yeah, you're right. I think the tricky part about it is that I don't know that I necessarily think it's got to be better. I do sometimes think of it that way. I'm like, it's got to be different.
Different, yeah.
I can't just have the same, like.
That's funny, because in painting, it doesn't. You kind of want to keep that pattern of the same style.
Correct.
But you're keeping a style, but I see what you're saying. It needs to be different. You need to learn something and challenge yourself.
Can't just be like cowboys out in the West talking about, horse things and conservation and, showing pretty slow motion stuff with the same 12 tracks that came off of Premium Beat. It's like it needs to be something completely different. And I think it's the way that we tell those stories. I think like with Intention, that was a completely unique way of telling a story, I think, which is probably what got the attention from it. But
what was sort of that was the intent, I hate to say it, but was the intent for it to be Intention was kind of the story behind it, or did that happen and evolve as part of the process, the creative process, I guess?
I'm not sure I understand. I don't understand.
Well, was Intention part of, like, Paul's intention with his artwork? Was that part of the original story, or was that something that came out through your process?
I would say there was some intent behind it. It exploded, though. Yeah. It was like, let's touch on that, but there was a wealth there. Yeah. There are not many people that I have shown. We can't show Time Will Tell because the International Fly Fishing Film Festival's got a license to it for the next year. But I do show it to my friends and family occasionally on my phone or something. Sorry, guys at IF4. Don't let them hear this. There are not many people that I have shown that film to that are like, especially that know Paul, they're like, we need more. It needs to be longer. Yeah. My wife, after coming down here for SeaWee a couple of weeks ago, she got to spend some real time with Paul, and she was almost like mad at me. she's like, you didn't tell you told like a 16th of his story. I was like, well, I know. I was like, but I was bound by time. Right. Pun slightly intended, right? There's a 3-hour series that we could do about like all the stuff that he's done. I mean, between his music and his painting and his sketching, something that I didn't really even know about Paul that was so incredible that we discovered during the film process is not only is he a world-class painter, but he does these sketches that are so cool, right? And like in my feeble mind, I'm like, how can you do how can you be good at both of those? Like, it feels like it would be such a different skill set, right? To get out here with paints and watercolors and whatever else on this huge piece of canvas, and then to turn around and do something in a 6x8 sketchbook of like Dave Matthews, like rocking back with all these super cool pieces and elements and layers to it. You're like, geez, dude, like, how do you do both of those things?
How do you figure out how to turn the lights off in here and make it look magical with just sunlight and a fog machine? I don't know.
I don't. It's my team. I have a great team.
Yeah, but you know how to get the right team, though.
It's strictly my team.
Well, what can we, for the folks out there? I do have some more questions about the film, but I know can we play a clip from the film? Is that
you want the Time Will Tell one?
Yeah. Let's do a little. Instead of keeping the listeners wondering what's going on with this.
Well, here's the trailer, right?
This is the
Y'all
from
aren't
the,
going
from
to
the
hear the
trailer.
audio, but I will.
I can hear it in my head. I promise
people
you.
Will. Yeah.
I mean, I got goosebumps just looking at that because I have watched and listened to that. Excited for Paul about this film, which is, in my opinion, first and foremost, thank you for being the person that made a film about Paul. This is like way long overdue for how much he has done for the sport of fly fishing, sport fishing art. Paul is an untold number of dollars have been made to conservation through his art, and has helped me personally. So,
Well, thanks, buddy.
yeah, no, I just
You get me all weird over here.
well, sometimes you need to say it. So,
Thanks. Yeah,
It was definitely a cool feeling to know that how much effort, and we had a lot of help from Drake Boat Company, Yeti, the museum, American Museum of Fly Fishing, Duck Camp.
Duck Camp was great.
And
Rivers and Glen, Francisco.
Rivers and Glen, of course.
Was,
It's so cool that
he was in the film.
they helped. Yeah, exactly. I love that they helped out because that's like my little nest that I like to go there and hang out in. And, so it was great to have their support too. And just watching his crew and watching his team do that, it was a cool experience to see it from that angle. Like, we had a blast. Sarah and I went to Vermont with Piper. Piper did awesome. We had to do a few takes of a few things, and she was like totally all about it.
She was amazing.
she's a natural.
I've seen her melt down before, so I thought, you're always with that thread of a 3.5-year-old.
Right.
And she, like, Piper, we have to do it again. Okay.
Yeah, she was great. And then, finally, she was into it. I mean, there was a scene where she was, holding her dad's hand while they were walking down the hall where he was seeing his art for the first time. And, we're like, all right, look up. And she got it, man. I was like, we know, we got a career path here, I think.
For sure. It was awesome. It was cool.
It was. I'll say, I was kind of sort of joking about it a few minutes ago about, not being able to tell his whole story. I don't know if Paul would agree, but, I don't know that I'm done trying to tell your story. I think there's more. I would love to continue doing a bigger piece about you. I think there's so much more.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a lot.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe
kidding,
that. Are you paying attention, Yeti? No, but it is. I think there's we didn't touch on the guitars. There's so many things. I mean, how many questions have I asked you since we've been hanging?
Yeah.
Since we did the film, how many questions have I asked you about your art that I'm like, why didn't I ask him that? We didn't have enough time.
I don't have all the answers sometimes either.
It was fun though, and I do need to give a huge shout out to the crew on this. Viv was amazing on it. We've got our cinematographer is a guy named Kunio Hives from DC. He's a world-class cinematographer. Brian Lyles, his nickname is Zinger. He's an amazing sound guy and key grip and gaffer. I mean, he's just kind of catch-all Renaissance man of filmmaking. And Viv was on the thing. Matt West, who did our edit, and the handful of folks on this thing that were, and my wife for being patient. We went to 5 locations in 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was wild.
We filmed him in Jackson. We filmed him here for 5 days or 4 days. We went down to the Keys, where we got some bone fishing footage. I was sick as a dog too. I get horrifically sick on that trip, but we powered through. Right, the power of whiskey.
We toughed it out.
Yeah, gargling with bourbon at the end of the night to see it. It's and then we went up to Manchester, Vermont, and
it was cool. I'd never been to Vermont before. It was neat.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. But my crew is they dug in for this one.
Yeah,
and they are an incredibly talented group of individuals.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Sarah
see it in
Sanford
the film.
was with us.
Yeah, Sarah. Yeah, it was cool.
It was a lot of fun, and our partners were good, as Paul said. To have Yeti and Duck Camp and Drake and Rivers and Glen and all those guys involved was super cool.
Yeah,
and the One Fly crew.
One Fly, the museum. Yeah,
yep.
I mean, we had an all-star cast of both talent and partners on the thing, which was it makes it enjoyable too, right? It was we called these folks to be partners and executive producers on this thing, and they didn't bat an eye. They were like, "Yep, we're in."
Yeah,
Like as soon as they knew it was about Paul, they're like, sure, "Yep,
Yeah.
what do you need?" It was cool. People were tripping over themselves to help get this thing done.
Yeah.
And it's all because of who he is and what he's done, right? I can tell you that I've had those conversations before on other films, and they were not nearly as easy. I can promise you that. Like, if I lie to you this entire podcast, that'll be the one thing I say that was true.
Y'all are too kind.
Well, Paul, how did it feel to have your journey and sort of passion for fishing and art on film? I mean, what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was neat. Like, so I did the Silver Kings thing with Jared a couple years ago, and that was purely focused on the pressure and the stress of catching a tarpon. And it wasn't scripted at all, but there's definitely like some things you have to make happen. And this was a little bit, obviously, it was semi-scripted. We kind of knew the storyline, what we needed to do, but all the questions were real, all the answers were real. And I had all these thoughts in my head of like, I didn't really know the exact questions you were going to ask me, but we had talked on the phone before. Like, this might be a cool thing to bring up. So in my mind, while I'm sleeping and staying awake at night, I'm trying to come up with the best ways to answer these questions.
Yeah.
And you have all this free-flowing thought, oh, that would be a great way to maybe bring it to life. But the second you get in front of a camera and you're supposed to come up with all those things you said, like at 1 in the morning as you're sleeping and laying in bed, like it was a lot harder. It was a lot harder to free flow that. I definitely felt like after seeing it, like I can tell I was a little uncomfortable a little bit, just because it's hard to come up with these free flowing after a couple bourbon thoughts that you've had that seem so perfect in your mind, and to get in front of a camera and 4 people watching you, it's just a different world. So we had to retake a few things. Remember, I'd be like, just tell me how do I say it again? Like I'd be like, God, I don't remember what I was going to. So it was harder than I thought it was going to be, for sure. Before me kind of coming up with all these things in my head, but it was fun to watch it all happen. And the bone fishing thing, we went down to the Keys. Chad Huff took us out.
So did you catch any bonefish while you were there?
We did. We caught a
Nice.
few. And red fishing here was tough. When you guys came here to Charleston, I guess I should have this on me maybe. When these guys came to Charleston, it was like right when we had a weather shift in like mid to late November.
Wild.
The weather changed, and we had Ben Young was the camera boat, and I had my buddy Kyle in town, I think. Mm-hmm. And we were just having trouble even seeing tails. There were a couple we had, but the boat cam was a little too far away to really see the tail. We didn't catch a redfish for filming here, and that was upsetting to me.
Yeah.
And you just can't do it every time. Weather involved. You got a crew of people. The tide didn't come in right the way it was supposed to. The one day we went out to, I forget, the Wapoo River, whatever. So it was fun, but it was frustrating at times when those kind of things would happen.
Yeah, and we talked about it at the time. I think one of the things that I don't love trophy shots in films. I think there's enough of that out there. I mean, you turn on YouTube and thousands and hundreds of thousands of trophy shots. I sort of like the idea of of not focusing on that. In my opinion, that's why I do it. Like duck hunting, right? Some of the greatest duck hunts I've ever been on were a beautiful morning with a good friend and my dog paying attention and staring at the sky and wagging her tail and just having, like you see a couple of ducks way high. You don't touch your gun, right? Never put a shell in my gun. Yeah. But I had a gorgeous morning with a good friend. Like, I'll remember those. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you the difference between all the mallards that I've shot or the trout that I've caught, It's like, yeah. And so while I know everybody wants to catch fish, right? I kept thinking, I could sense the frustration from everybody, but I kept thinking, this is actually beautiful because, this is what it's like. Yeah. This is what fishing is.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Well, it makes it more authentic.
It makes it totally authentic, but I to me, I think a lot of true conservationists and true outdoorsmen, they don't care about the trophy. I mean, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not discounting that whole thing, but it's the entire experience that people remember.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, these guys, like, I've been down to Texas to shoot boar, and I can tell you about all the different times that I was there and all the people I was with and the experiences we had, but I couldn't tell you which boar I shot at which trip.
Yeah.
Right,
You know?
right.
But I can tell you about sleeping on the sofa because my cousin snores like a truck downshifting on the highway, you know?
Yeah.
But those are the things I remember. I remember being out in middle of Eagle Pass, Texas at 1 o'clock in the morning and being 2 feet from a rattlesnake and having to shoot, you know, like those are the things I remember. I don't remember what the boar was like that I shot that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, to your point about the frustration of not being able to hammer some fish, it was it's kind of like, this is glorious because this is exactly what it's about.
Well, it's funny, know? Like with that thought in mind, it was more of the host in me. Wanted to like, like, and we even talked about that. We don't have to catch a fish. Even when we went to the Keys, we didn't have to catch a fish.
Yeah, right.
But I wanted these guys to see a tailing redfish, you know, like that's what I want the camera to see. Catching a fish, even whatever, but just to see that magic of that little tail. Just,
it is.
You know, coming up.
Well, you want to show off where you live, where you're from, and be like, I want to show you this because it's cool.
Yeah, 100%.
And I totally agree with you. Like the times in between the fish are like the ones we remember the most, for sure.
Yeah, we're all taking pictures of each other and telling jokes and laughing, and you know, it's like that's 99% of the reason that I do what I do is I could have gone out there without cameras that day and still had an amazing time. You know.
Well, keep that in mind for this afternoon when we get on the water.
Yeah, we are. Paul and I are going to go chase some of those redfish.
So.
Well, what about
take it all back?
This, I'm curious because I did not know your story prior to this, Hilton. But what, like, you know, from what I have seen of your films, and Paul had, you know, shown me a few clips of Only Time Will Tell, but it was emotionally moving, and I'm curious, what role did your cancer play into your filmmaking now? Because I'm now, as I'm saying this out loud, starting to make that connection to me personally. But I'm curious what role that has played in your filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know that I have a direct answer for that. I think so. I'm 46 now. When I turned 20, at the end of my freshman year of college, I found a big lump in my neck. I assumed it was mono. Probably should have gotten it checked a little earlier. And turned out to be Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had a 7-inch tumor in my neck and then one about the size of a golf ball under my arm. But he's like, you don't know this, but your armpit is deep. Mm-hmm. So like you could have something the size of a golf ball in your armpit, and it's like all tucked up in there. You don't know it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. So anyway, I went through like 8 months of chemo and then like 40 straight days of radiation. It went away. 10 years to the month later, it came back.
Wow. Because
I had a lump again. Well, my daughter was only 3 months old at the time. And if you know me at all, you know that my daughter is like the most important. As all parents would say about their children, but like Betsy is like, it's like what I care about.
Right,
you know?
right.
She's like incredibly special to me. Girl dad, right?
Yep.
And you know that from the moment you hold your kid for the first time. Well, we got sick. I got sick, and I went to a couple of different places to get treatment, and ended up talking to a good friend of mine whose in-laws are particularly powerful down at MD Anderson, and I called on like a Friday. They're like, "We'll see you on Tuesday." And I went down there and had this great experience. They were like, "Geez, we haven't seen anybody with a relapse over 10 years at your age ever." And we're talking about MD Anderson. I mean, we're talking about the finest cancer institute in the world.
Right.
So they got this group of like 100 doctors together one evening to study it. And they were like, what we've kind of found is that like, you should do a stem cell. If you're willing to risk it, a stem cell transplant we think is like your best insurance policy. Like it might be overkill, but if you don't want this to come back, we think that's the best way to do it. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Well, I did it. It's a horrific experience. Although all the care in the world, all the props in the world go to MD Anderson because they were so great. But move this so I can look at you. But like I said, I mean, I lost a lot of clients then too, right? I mean, I was a small, 1 to 2 man political operation.
Right.
And I couldn't service those folks. I was living in a hospital. I mean, I was in Houston for 1.5 years, living in and out of a hospital. I mean, I was there for 40 days at a time. Sick as a dog, not a hair on my body. My fingernails had fallen out. I mean, I was sick.
Wow.
And, but I was like, it was all for my daughter.
Right.
Like you don't think about when you're sick like that and you have a kid at home, your first little girl at home, you don't think like, geez, what if I don't make it? Like you just think like, when is this going to be over?
Yeah.
Right. There's no concept of, am I going to abandon her? Am I going to die? It's when can I get home? Right. So like you're constantly fighting. Right.
Yeah.
So if you know you're constantly fighting and you've made your mind up about that, you have time to think about other things, which was, man, all right, I'm losing, I can't service my clients, so I'm losing clients. Like, am I really happy? And it's funny, like you look at me now and I'm pretty gross, grizzly looking fella. But I used to have like a full head of hair and I didn't have I shaved every day. I used to wear bow ties. I mean, I was a
DC dude,
preppy guy, and I'm not that way anymore. And I think it's because there was something, there's a long way around. You sit in a hospital room long enough, you start to realize that there's like a reset button that was handed to me. And I was like, maybe that's not where I need to be. Like, I don't know that I feel like myself in politics. I was chasing power, and I was like, I look back on that now, and I hated that guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what the hell good does being able to have a senator's cell phone number? I'm never 3 dozen senators' cell phones. I've never called them once. Like, who cares? Yeah. But I cared at the time.
Yeah.
And I think there was just this sort of like, I don't know. When you get a stem cell transplant, essentially, they harvest your stem cells, they put them in a centrifuge, and I don't know, it's wild science, but when they give you your stem cells back, they call it your rebirth. Like that's the official name at MD Anderson for it. Like if I were to check in for an appointment down there, like I'm 18 years old to them or however, 16 years old to them.
Right.
Like you get all of your I had to get my polio and chickenpox, like all my vaccines. Oh, wow. Like literally you start your life over.
That's unbelievable.
Physically.
Wow.
It's wild. Like I said, your fingernails fall out. You grow new fingernails. I mean, it's insane. Eyebrows, everything. And I don't know if there's also something that happens maybe in your DNA. So I was my own donor. You can do it 2 ways. You can get stem cells from somebody else. They had cleaned my blood well enough that they thought that they could use mine again. Like start me over. So again, that's a reset button. And I don't know if there's something both medical and sort of psychological or physical and psychological, but something about it, I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't feel like I don't like that guy, I was like, I don't want to be, why do I care about being powerful or being recognized for getting bills through the Senate or being a political operative? I was like, no disrespect to that, I mean, right. Do I miss it sometimes? Yeah. Do I miss the good parts? Yeah, sure. Like, it's fun. I worked with amazing people. I worked with some real bastards too.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But the end of the day, I was sort of like, I'm going to grow a beard, you know? And then like next thing you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I look different. And I'm going to just kind of act.
You're taking on a whole new just kind of persona.
Yeah. And then it's not, the thing is it's like, it's new, but it's the real one.
It's always been there.
Yeah. It's like you discovered it, right? And that was, so yes, sorry for such a long answer to that, but the idea is like, I think so. I mean, I remember this one time I was literally lying in that hospital room and watching TV. And if you've ever been in a hospital room, you know that the TVs are less than be desired, right? They're not great. So you get 9 channels and 6 of them are bad. But I remember watching a spider climb up a wall one day, and I was like charting its path, like over the window, and like, I was like, I remember creating a story about it. I was like, where he's going? He's got a family, and like, I was so bored. And, I do remember that moment thinking like, I just came up with an entire narrative about this spider that's definitely going to die in a little while, like I'll probably end up killing it. Yeah. But, there was just something that I think there was an authenticity and like wanting to tell stories. One of the things that I did, I had do you know what Caring Bridge is?
Yep.
Caring Bridge was sort of like a blog sort of thing for people that are sick. And I had started one. I don't know why, but I kept people in tune on and I had something like 15,000 followers on the thing. And, wow. But I made it funny. Yeah. Generally like try to be positive about it. A lot of these Caring Bridge things are like, oh my God, they did this and that today. And it's so sad. Yeah. I'm like, nah, dude. I was like, let's talk about donuts, MD Anderson's got the finest food in the world, like, let's talk about cheesecake, because you haven't had a cheesecake until you've had cheesecake at MD Anderson, But I remember telling these stories about what I was up to during the day, and people loved them. And I was like, well, this is fun, like this feels authentic. And it just sort of like resonated with me. And so I think that's that. I don't know that I've ever actually like truly considered it, but I think you bring up a good point. I think there is there's a lot probably that experience responsible for wanting to tell like emotional, powerful, heavy stories. I'm not a particularly emotional guy, as my wife will tell you, like rather stoic at most times, I think, and or so she would say. But I also feel like this is like an outlet for me to like be emotional, right? To like feel things that I wouldn't normally feel. I'm gonna go create it.
The tension film tells me all that stuff. Like, I've told you this before. When I first started, I think you sent me a clip of it. I hadn't seen it in the theater yet, but you sent me it was still on the tour, but you kind of sent me the Secret Ops link to watch it. And I think I was watching it in here on my phone, like between paintings, so I couldn't really give it my full attention. But at first, I wasn't buying it. I was just like, oh, okay, what? We're speaking through the fly? And like I've told you, I don't know what the word was for me. It wasn't cheesy. That wasn't the right word. But it was just, I think I was scared of it. I think I was just like, this is out of the norm. Yeah. This is not my deal. I'm probably not going to watch this. And what's funny is I kind of lost track of time over the last month and never came back to it. And then the film tour came through here in August. So I was like, I'm just going to wait and see it in the theater. At that point, I knew I was not going to watch the rest of it on my TV or iPad. And I think we were a couple weeks away from the film. And at this point, I think we knew we were going to do something. Yeah, we did. We did. So I was like, I'm going to watch the rest of the film in the theater. At the end of it, I'm crying. I'm like, oh. I'm just like, this film's incredible. And everyone's turning around. Doug was like, this guy that made this? I'm like, yeah. So everyone was totally bought in halfway through it, because when I got past a minute past the point where I stopped watching it is when I started really getting into it. Yeah. So it's definitely, but the whole daughter thing is real powerful in that. I appreciate the female character, I guess we can call her, is the main focal point of the film in Jackson. You can watch it on your YouTube channel. I can play a little clip
on our
too.
Website,
yeah, and it's awesome though.
The long for those who've not seen Tension, the story is about a young woman who is a fly fishing guide, and she is getting ready to guide her first one fly. And for those who don't know what the one fly competition is, you got to look it up. It's an incredible competition out in Jackson Hole, but you fish for 2 days and you can only use one fly each day. And if you lose that fly, you're out for the day. Yeah. A lot of pressure. It's just the coolest thing. My explanation doesn't even begin to explain how the energy around it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she's getting ready to, I wrote this story of this girl. She's getting ready to fish it. Well, she's getting ready to fish it with an old fly that her grandfather had given her like 25 years ago when she was just a little kid.
They were best friends right now. Just thinking about
it. they were best friends. He helped raise her, and she was the apple of his eye, and you know, the whole amazing relationship, right? Yep. Old cowboy, and she's gonna doctor up this fly and use it. And so tension is all about the lessons that this girl learned from her grandfather, but it's all told from the perspective of the fly.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So we created a personality, and the fly narrates the entire film. And that's so cool. we kind of turn the fly into sort of an old cowboy, and like all these cool life lessons about conservation and working together, and working together, being friends, and taking care of the planet, and trusting one another, and all these, the kind of Western ethics, Western code, that we did. So anyway, it actually ended up winning the International Fly Fishing Film Festival, which was a pretty big honor. But I had talk about an amazing team. I had an amazing team on that too.
And that was your second win in a row. Right, Father Nature?
It was, yeah. As a matter of fact, you're right. I guess we tied for first place.
Okay.
Win's a win, I guess. The year before that with Father Nature, which was a real cool film. There's going to be a lot more about that, actually, that people will see soon. It's a story about John Turner, who was, or is, fifth generation Wyoming rancher out at Triangle X Ranch in Jackson.
Yep.
And he is the guy who was responsible for releasing the wolves back into Yellowstone.
Really?
It's just arguably one of the greatest conservationists of our time. He has conserved over 30 million acres. And to our knowledge, no one else has ever done that except for one person. You guys know who that is?
No.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But he was the guy who got the gray spotted owl on the list. I mean, he's done some amazing stuff. He built the Conservation Leadership Institute out in West Virginia, and he's just an all-around stud. He's got a cool story. He's got an amazing family, and so we told this story called Father Nature about like some of the work that he's done, and sort of same deal with Paul. Like there's a lot we haven't told yet. We're working on a feature film that's going to involve him. But we told that story. That was kind of a funny one because IF4 called me and they said, "Hey, do you have anything?" This would have been 2023. I said, "Do you have anything for the festival?" I was like, "I don't." I was like, "I got a trailer." They're like, "We don't do trailers." I was like, "All right, well then no." We'll send it to us. And I sent it, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is an amazing story. Can we build some more fishing into it? Can you develop it a little bit more, and let's turn it into like a short film?" So we did. We went back out to Jackson, and we got on the Snake and caught a bunch of fish.
That was the year I met you.
That's
when you were out there working on it.
Yeah. We caught a bunch of fish, unlike here in Charleston. And we turned around a pretty quick film, and we ended up winning then too, which was cool. So, I love being a writer and a director, and it's fun. I can't take a lot of credit for it, though, because my team's insane, but, like, my subjects are awesome.
Yeah.
Like fly fishing in Jackson Hole, world-class artists. If you can't film that properly, you got to hang it up, We go find something else to do.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate your modesty, but from what I have seen of your films, they're they're pretty special.
Well, I appreciate that. It just, I kind of don't feel like I have a lot to do with it, you know? I mean, I rely on the fact that I've got good subjects and I've got a good team.
Yeah, but you got the vision and the creative and the storytelling. That's definitely a pretty big part of it, I'd say, for sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll accept that later.
Well, we mentioned conservation, but I do want to, we're on the sustainable angler, so I do want to dive in a little bit on conservation. And I'm curious, this one's for you, Paul, of the, many of your paintings highlight fishing landscapes, right? The beauty of the natural world. Do you see your art as a way to inspire conservation at all?
Yeah, I mean, I could, when I'm doing it, not necessarily, but for instance, we've got the One Fly coming up in September, so I'm going to do a painting, and I always donate for that every year. Same thing with Baracho tournament in Texas. But for the One Fly, it's going to be some sort of Western Snake River, South Fork, or Upper Snake scene, and my job is to do the best painting I can do for that, so it raises the most possible amount of money. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of that situation is that tent is full of a lot of people that have a lot of money, and they're all great people. And they fight over these paintings. They fight over all these auction items, and it's a lot of fun to see something, 18 by 24 go from 5,000 to 10,000 to 15 to 17 to 18, and to know that money's going directly to the right people that are going to make the right decisions, to where I can go actually and fish Spread Creek now because there's actually water in it again. There had been water in that thing since like the late 90s, and there is now because of these type of projects that the One Fly does.
That's amazing.
So I don't know that it inspires conservation, but it goes towards helping conservation. And maybe it inspires another kid. Like when I was in Denver, I met this kid that was, he wouldn't get off my ass about asking me art questions. Like, this is the next Paul Puckett. Like, I was seeing him as if I was him, I'd be doing the same thing, running. I would be chasing around Tim Borski. I'd be chasing around Mark Cicino, asking him all the questions he was asking me, and his dad would be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, I love it. And then I went down to another booth and saw him talking to another artist. I'm like, this kid's got it. So maybe doing a painting for One Fly and he sees it, that could inspire him to be an artist to do the same things that I'm doing now. So in that regard, it could inspire conservation for sure.
Well, similar question for you, Hilton, and just sort of what role does conservation play in inspiring your filmmaking?
Well, it's central theme to a lot of our films, obviously. It's just because I'm passionate about it. I lost my dad a couple years ago, and he's the one who first introduced me to the outdoors, as I mentioned earlier. So I feel like somewhere tied in there's like a little bit of respect and honor and tribute to him to continue kind of this legacy of taking care of our planet and our natural resources. I can't tell you that I set out with the intention to inspire, sort of like Paul said, but I do think that there is an opportunity to educate through stories. There was a quick sort of line, or a little bit more than that, in the film Tension, about the whole concept that, like, anybody who's been out to Jackson Hole and has spent time on the Snake, knows how unbelievably gorgeous that place is, right? It's stunning. Everybody's out there. They want to see the moose, and they want to see the elk, and they want to see the aspens, and they want to see the crystal clear water of the Snake, and all these different things, right? And the bears and the vegetation, and it's just. But what people don't realize is that all of that is the stuff above the water that people want to see, right? None of that exists if we don't take care of what's below the surface there, underwater, right? If we don't take care of that, there's no vegetation. There's no food for the animals. These banks are going to dry up. Everything falls apart. And I don't think people necessarily, if they know it, I don't know that they realize it.
Yeah.
And so we took the opportunity to sort of explain that, like, you can't have everything above the water if you don't take care of what's below it, right? And so there's this incredible quote. I think we begin the film with the quote, and it's sort of become a quote. It's on a wall at our studio back in Richmond. But the quote is, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children."
Yep.
It's an old Native American proverb.
That one gives me chills.
I've got goosebumps right now. Total chicken skin.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's true. Like, there are no true words ever spoken about conservation.
Yep.
And I think, to Paul's point, you kind of gave me goosebumps when you were saying, like, that kid's gonna be inspired by you, and maybe one day he'll inspire somebody. And
Yeah.
I think that, to me, it's like, if you can convey the importance of legacy with conservation, then we're all doing our part.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that. It's one thing to educate people about conservation. It's another thing to educate people about the fact that you've got to keep it going.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
This is not let's go fix it in 2026. It's like, we got to fix it for the rest of our lives, because we're borrowing it from our children.
No, that's a great quote.
I think that's probably a pretty good note to come close to wrapping on, because that's such a great message.
Well, we got to pour a sip of the whiskey in here too, as we kind of fade out.
Yeah. Well, of course. But I want to, just take the opportunity to thank both of y'all for Hilton creating and writing some inspiring films. Paul, for your art.
Well, thanks for everything you do too, buddy.
Man, it's amazing.
Just what he said, you're keeping this ship going down. I mean, you're still doing it, buddy. You're still doing it. It's fun. It's been fun to see, and everything you do, you clearly believe in it, and you give it everything you've got. Because I've seen you've been doing it for 6-7 years now.
Emerger Strategies will be 9 years this year.
Wow.
The podcast is 7 years old. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I think it's just I think people protect what they love, is what I think. And if you love to fish, you're gonna care about fisheries and what's happening to them. If you love to hunt, you're gonna care about. If you love duck hunt, you're gonna care about wetlands.
Yeah.
And it's just we need more. I think what y'all bring to the table is that the things that I'm always looking for inspiration. And so it's like, when I see things or I watch something and it inspires me, like, that's the fuel that keeps you going. 'Cause it can be a little depressing otherwise.
I understand.
So like, when some of your art and, the films that you're making, those are I think, fuel for a lot of people that go, we really, we need, I want to take my grandkids out on, if I'm lucky to have them, out here and go catch some blue crab, take them home, cook them and eat them. Want to show them how to catch a redfish and experience part of the culture of the low country. And we can't do that if we don't think about the decisions we're making today and how it will impact those future generations and what we're leaving behind to them. So I think it's really,
Well, and all the businesses you've inspired, though, to make changes and make decisions that make everything better, too. So every day you're inspiring people to make changes and hopefully inspiring other younger kids to do something similar to what you're doing one day, So those decisions go home to their families. I just talked to this guy today, and he's got these great ways we can help our business to be better. And, those are the things that are changing the world, too. So we appreciate what you do.
You definitely make a direct impact for sure.
Well,
You're very action oriented.
I know.
It's impressive.
Well, I appreciate the kind word, but yeah. So we're all we're all doing what we can, what we got.
That's right. That's right.
And if people want to find out more about Love Affair, watch some of these trailers, watch some of your films, what's your website?
It's loveaffaircreative.com.
Okay.
And they can find us on Instagram and
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. We're kind of typing in Love Affair on YouTube is
Takes you
probably
to some
like
strange.
rethinking that a little bit. But yeah, if you get to like the 13th page, you'll find us in there somewhere. Both of my followers. But yeah,
No, I just subscribed today, so you have 3 now.
did you have 3 people now? It's like you, my mom, and Dawn.
Rick, you want in on this?
Yeah.
I got in on it this morning too. You got 4 now.
Amazing. I'm going to be on like page 12 now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what about, Paul? I mean, I don't think it's hard for people to find you, but if I was just looking for some fine art from Paul Puckett, where am I going to get that?
I'm tucked in a little corner over there. If you go through like 13 pages, look up Paul Puckett Art on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or paulpuckettart.com.
All right. Love it. You heard it here. Oh, and by the way, I'll give a shameless plug for both of you. For the IF4, you can vote on films for which ones are your favorite. So whenever IF4 comes to your town and you see Only Time Will Tell, don't forget to vote for Only Time Will Tell if you were so inclined to do so. I was, so I did it.
Well, thank you.
I have not voted yet.
Yeah, well,
I need
make
to.
sure you do.
Wait until like the last minute. You're going to change his mind.
When it needs one more vote to win, I'm going to be.
Like, I did it.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like when the president goes to the polling place and votes for himself.
Exactly.
I feel like we need to record it. We're going to film it.
Sure.
We can do that today.
We can, yeah.
Well, we're going to take a little plug when we get off from this whole Lost Whiskey. That's another little project Hilton's involved with, so we're going to do a little shameless plug for that. So.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
go
But
ahead.
thanks again for having us on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, thank you very much. This is my very first podcast.
Well, you're a pro.
This
You're
is
a pro.
great. Thanks. This is my last one too. I'm going out on what I would consider like a relatively high note.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're always behind the camera too. You know.
Do we?
You know.
Do you drink bourbon at all podcasts? Because I feel like I should have done a ton of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on like every day now.
Yeah.
This is great.
There we go. All right, Rick, thanks,
Can
buddy.
we tell people that it's 4:30 in the afternoon so they don't think that we're...
That's the magic of cinema.
Yeah, good. Oh, God, it's been the longest day. We should have one of these.
I even forwarded the clock in the background 6 hours.
Special thanks to Paul and Hilton for everything they are doing to protect what we all love. And don't forget to check out Time Will Tell whenever IF4 rolls through your town. If you enjoyed this episode, an absolutely free way to show your support is by leaving it a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. It's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for new episodes dropping every month.